live at the NurseToken event.
Pool Party for Cancer, Matt Barnes, Snoop Dogg, and we got Nurse Tokens.
Gilbert Arenas, I'm here at NurseToken.
Marcus Majors, I'm here with NurseToken. Big Cannon, we wildin' out. NurseToken, we appreciate it. Let's get it, stay love.
Hold on. The party was really fun, but let's learn more about NurseToken. Today we have Cherie here, the CEO and founder of SnapNurse and NurseToken. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, thanks everyone. I'm Cherie Kloss. I'm as he mentioned, the CEO of SnapNurse and NurseToken. I have a background in medicine, worked as an anesthetist for 18 years in the U.S. and did a lot of contract work during that time, which is what other countries might call agency work. As the gig economy kind of kicked off to where people were basically Uberizing everything, thought, well, this should definitely be a type of technology that should be used in contract nursing if you could get the credentialing right. And so it started SnapNurse, which is like an Uber for nurses on-demand platform that connects hospitals to nurses. Our token is called NurseToken, and it will be purchased in order to unlock the nurse credentials on the blockchain. In healthcare, you could tackle it piece by piece. And, one thing I know is the nurse agency business because I have a nurse agency. And so I want to tackle that piece, and it's not a small piece. Last year, the medical staffing agency business was $17 billion. Our hospital clients spend $2 to $3 million a month in agency nurses alone, each hospital. So this is not a small business. It's a huge industry, and it's worldwide. So shortages in the UK, Japan, the UAE has a huge shortage. Global shortages are occurring, and global nurses are mobilizing to go and fill those shortages, such as the Philippines, and people from Nigeria, or nurses from Nigeria. We're getting a lot of nurses from India to come into the U.S. So we're super excited because NurseToken is a global platform where they can all come onto the platform, choose the hospitals that they want to get specifically credentialed for, and allow those hospitals to find them to hire them. And it saves a lot of money on the hospital side because they buy the NurseToken to access the platform, and it's a lot cheaper than doing it themselves and quicker. And so it creates essentially a truly on-demand nursing workforce that is global.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If you guys want to continue watching this video, me and Ryan actually went over the details on how NurseToken works and how does it benefit the nurses and the hospitals. So keep watching the video, and this is the second part of the video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and don't forget to check out the links below. It will be all the details that you need to know about NurseToken, and it's really interesting. If you are a nurse, it's especially good for you because you can go in and already start the process. You'll be on top of it, so when this technology comes out, you'll be the first one to be able to be booked, right? So I think if you are a nurse, it's really important for you to check this information because things are changing, things are improving, and it will be easier for you and hospitals. Today we are Jeff here, and he is from NurseToken and SnapNurse.
That's right.
And today we talk about a little bit about SnapNurse. So tell us a little bit about yourself, about your history, because I know you have pretty good medical history.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm Jeff Richards. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for SnapNurse. My background is as a healthcare provider. So I was an anesthetist and went to school with Cherie Kloss, our founder, about 20 years ago, and then worked in a major hospital here in Atlanta, Grady Hospital. The last 10 years of that, I was the director of anesthesia, so serving in an administrative role and also still providing anesthesia to patients there. In that role, ended up contracting with numerous nurse agencies to provide anesthetists at that time. I learned a great deal about the way those companies function and how they deploy workers and the lack of technology that was deployed in order to get workers where they needed to go. And I was on the receiving end of that as a director. Faxes, paperwork, phone calls from recruiters and salespeople. So many headaches that are really the source of an opportunity that both Cherie experienced on the provider side as a contract anesthetist, and I experienced on the facility side, trying to place those workers myself, and knowing that together there was a huge opportunity to bring technology into that space and massively improve how hospitals are able to connect with contract workers, and in particularly contract nurses. And that is basically the beginning of SnapNurse, that we sought out a technology platform that could enable that whole process. And in the early days of SnapNurse, one of the most challenging pieces of onboarding nurses and growing the company was credentialing. Just like with providing or finding the platform to help expedite getting those workers, getting the nurses into the facilities, we started to search for the platforms for credentialing and found that there's nothing out there that has a great user interface. Upon further research, identified that this is a perfect space for the utilization of blockchain by identifying the repeated parts of credentialing, like work verification, education verification, and even background checks that get done over and over and over. And each of those instances costs money, it takes time, it delays the process of onboarding, and that the blockchain is a perfect technology to take that one-time background check, the one-time work verification and education verification, place it on the blockchain. It's trusted, it's immutable, and transform how credentialing is done. And then together with SnapNurse is enable mobility for a healthcare provider in a way that's never been done before. And that's extremely exciting, and that's where we are today.
What do you see the company in like about 5 years from now? Do you see adoption? Do you see increasing or decreasing in workflow for hospitals?
Yeah, so one of the exciting things is that Don came today, and last night or 2 nights ago, we got a chance to sit down with the Filipino Consular General here in Atlanta and had a lengthy conversation about creating a national credentialing system for the Filipino nurses, who are one of the largest nursing workforces in the world that are deployed internationally, many of them here in the United States, many of them in the Middle East. So it's extremely appealing, I think, for that country in general. That's one sort of international conversation that didn't lead to, but is then added to a conversation from this morning with a group in the UK who are also, they have an enormous number of nurses on their platform, and they would love to take advantage of a combination of some of the technology in SnapNurse and NurseToken. When I think of where we'll be in 5 years, it might be that even 1 year from now, that we're not only onboarding thousands of nurses into NurseToken, utilizing the technology to enable the gig economy, or at least provider mobility within a healthcare system, let alone using agencies and contract labor, enabling them to move from facility to facility easily here in the United States, but also licensing the technology into other countries. And it could be that those first 2 countries might be the Philippines and the UK.
So Jeff, I have another question for you.
Okay.
So there's a lot of token companies and blockchain companies out there, all of them saying they're going to change the world, based in all over the world. But what is the difference with you guys, with NurseToken and SnapNurse? How are you guys different from all those many companies out there?
Sure. Thanks for the question. Great question. I think unlike other blockchain companies, our company is already up and running, and that's our first company, SnapNurse, and it was founded by Cherie Kloss, a healthcare provider of 20 years, and I partnered with her, and I myself am also a healthcare provider of 20 years, and both of us, together have pushed and iterated with our technology team to create a product that we have numerous hospital clients, surgery center clients. We have thousands of nurses on our platform, and that existing business is up and running and working very well and growing rapidly. So this is a great opportunity to mention our Chief Technology Officer, who's Edwin Marcial. He was the CTO of the Intercontinental Exchange, which in 2010 purchased the New York Stock Exchange. And after 14 years with ICE, he exited out at 2014, and he's here in Atlanta, where ICE is located, and has sought out interesting technology startups and partnered with us, which has been a great opportunity. He's extremely excited about being part of a company that's transforming healthcare and innovating in every possible way, from a technology standpoint to a healthcare staffing standpoint, the businesses that we're in, and created our platform with us for SnapNurse, an on-demand booking application for nurse staffing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and good seeing you today.
Thanks, Adon.
And good luck. Today I have Ryan here from NurseToken and SnapNurse. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. So we actually talked about it a little bit, so I have a general understanding of this, but I think it's really important for Ryan to also explain about NurseToken and its purpose. So basically, what is the problem right now that we're having in the nursing industry? Tell us about the shortage. Tell us about the processing problem.
So right now, a lot of nurses are in the baby boomer era, so they are, getting to that age where in the next 10 years we're going to have a ton of nurses retire, and then, as people get older, they become patients more, and so you need more nurses to handle more patients. So as those nurses get older and they kind of age out of the group, there's going to be a big shortage and then an influx of patients. So there's already a nursing shortage, and facilities are really, really tightly booked. I know in Atlanta we have a couple of facilities that are really, really short on nurses, and they're, everyone's working overtime, everyone's working past when they should, stuff like that, that obviously diminishes the care for the patients, which nobody wants, And right now, nurses have to go through a credentialing process that's, 40-something documents. It can take, up to a couple of months, depending on tracking down some of those documents. It's just a really grueling process. The nurses hate how inefficient it is, but it's just something you have to get done. And so what NurseToken is trying to do is just create a credentialing platform that has a good user experience, has a good flow, it's easy to use, it's intuitive, and the nurses will be rewarded for using it. They'll earn NurseToken, and then the facility will be able to access that data using the same NurseToken, and then the facility can provide first-hand verifications, which is one of those credentialing things that's really, really expensive. You can pay hundreds of dollars just to get a nurse verified, because you need at least one education verification and 2 work verifications, and you need to have at least 1 reference called. And so just doing that alone can cost a couple $100 to do things that they have to do anyway. So they would be awarded NurseToken by going through the credentialing process, submitting their documents, getting ready to work, because then they make the agency's money.
And they earn the token, which it's money for them too, just by doing that, right?
Yep, it's money for them that they, they earn just by submitting their paperwork and stuff like that. So if you submit all your medical records, boom, you just won, 7 NurseToken for credentialing. Yeah, so the nurses earn the NurseToken through the credentialing process and keeping their credentials updated. They'll also be able to earn a small amount of NurseToken by performing verifications on the platform. So it may, if you work with a nurse at the same facility at the same time, and you were on the same team on the same floor, you'd be able to say, I worked with this person, they were a good fit, anything like that, and they would be given a small amount of NurseToken, because that's saving everyone in the system a whole lot of money by not having to pay, for that $40, $50, $60 verification. When the nurse can just do it, we can give them a little bit of NurseToken, and then it saves everyone else a ton of money. And then the nurses can redeem their NurseToken if they want to.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It was a really interesting conversation. Yeah. Hi guys, we're here with Ivana. She does all the credentials for the nursing, for the nurses, right?
Yeah.
So you work right now with SnapNurse?
I do.
And then one day we're going to transfer over to NurseToken?
As soon as possible. Definitely.
How's your everyday process or your daily process with the nurses?
So if a nurse wants to be on our platform, she has to go through this long credentialing process. It's the matter of uploading your medical documents, like your vaccination records, completing all these online signature requests, like your W-9s and your direct deposit and your participation agreement document. And it's so many. It's like at least 30 to 35 documents that you have to have completed. At the best, it can happen within a day if the nurse has everything, which is rare. So it can take up to like 2 months, the longest we've had so far. Yeah, and once they're credentialed, then they get on the platform where like the SnapNurse is like a booking platform, and they can start working through SnapNurse. NurseToken should definitely help shorten that process by 2 or 3 times, where the nurse can get credentialed in one spot and be credentialed for any sort of facility, any sort of hospital, anywhere in the world.
Do you think you can help more people or more nurses if the NurseToken process is in line? You'll be able to like process more nurses that way?
I mean, process way more nurses, and I mean, if there is a crisis happening somewhere in, I don't know, Kenya or in Guatemala, you have the capability to actually move those nurses fast and get them to where they're needed. That's just one example. I mean, more nurses will have the job. They don't have to wait and go through such terrible process to actually start working.